deep in my feelings, but come closer, 'cause maybe I want it to be that way. It's like I'm drowning and I'm stuck here in between my feelings. Tell me you're falling, 'cause maybe I want it to be that way. And now I do.
Welcome to the second mix breakdown. This is episode 3 already. Let's get it. Let's get this show on the road. The last mix breakdown was great. I got a lot of great responses. So yeah, it's a new month, new mix breakdown. Maybe we'll do another one next month. Let's see how this one goes. Today we've got the song from Dafne Adriana, Closure. It just came out last week, and I love it. As you may know, I did a mix giveaway for my birthday in July, and everyone applied, and thanks for applying and sending your tracks in. And in the end, I picked her song, this song, Closure. And as promised, I'm doing a mix breakdown of it. So we're going to run through that song today. And I'm excited because I love the way this turned out, and there's some cool tricks in there that I'm excited about showing you guys. So we are still in the Atlanta studio. I did the entire introduction last time, so I'll skip all of that. And I'll just dive right in because, as I mentioned last time, I've got a new template. I was working in an older template for the mix of Temporary last time, and now this is the new template. The main thing that changed is that Pro Tools came out with group folders, which are essentially auxiliary tracks, but then with a folder structure. So you can actually place your audio tracks and also auxiliaries and whatever you want inside the folders. So you can close the folder, like that, and you have way better overview, and you have way easier routing, because if I now solo this, all of the things in this folder gets soloed, which is way easier with stems bouncing, mixing individual groups, as you will see later on, mixing backing vocals. That all gets way easier. So what I did, I used to have 4 main buses that were going to my pre-master before hitting the master. And now I changed that up a little bit, because those used to be all drums, all music, all vocals, and all effects. And now the all effects bus has split 3 ways. So we've got all drums, and in all drums I've got drums effects. I've got all music, and in all music I've got music effects, and in all vocals I've got all vocals effects. And then there's some more folders in there with certain sections and certain parts of the song, certain backing vocals that should be together, just to make processing easier and make the workflow faster and nicer, so you can keep that creative train going and are not obstructed by any shit you have to do when solo saving something and it's not working as you want it to be working, and it just sucks. So that's the main thing about the new template. For the rest, everything is the same. Like, everything is still there. The 2 print tracks, the master, the pre-master, all the auxiliaries with effects and everything on it are still there. everything is still there. What I want to start with today, because this is all about Dafne, of course, so I want to start with her vocals, which are the pearl of the song, the diamond. It shines. It's all about her in this song. So let's dive into that. We've got 2 lead vocal tracks, lead vocal chorus and lead vocal verses. The track starts with a chorus, verse 1, chorus. So it's half a chorus, verse 1, it's a full length chorus, verse 2, full length chorus, and that's the end of the song. Then we've got a group of backing vocals for the hook, for the chorus. Then we've got some backing vocals in verse 2 as well. And then we've got an part, which is really interesting, which I'm really excited about to show you guys, because I had to recreate something, but we'll get to that later. So first, on the lead vocal, I had to start with, let me quickly duplicate the track, and then I can drag that out and I can show you what I started with. Yeah, that's the entire track. So that's what it looked like when I started. So it's not really all over the place. It's tucked in. There's no crazy stuff happening. And then underneath, you can see what I did to it. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't go that much overboard. I did some final touching up. She recorded with a Warm Audio 251 straight into her Apollo, and then she had an LA2A on the recording channel in the console, in the Apollo console. I am not a big fan of that. It worked out this time, but it could have gone another way, that it was overcompressed and I had to work really hard to make that work in a mix. So that was something. Luckily, she didn't compress it that much, but it definitely wasn't a raw vocal as I usually get them. So level editing was a bit less than normal. If you go back to the previous mix breakdown, I do a lot of, that was a really dynamic vocal. I do a lot of tiny parts. I gain up and down and up and down, and I didn't really have to do that here. I just had to do some de-essing here. So that's consolidated with a Pro Q3. That's a rendered clip. That's de-essed already. I did some breath work, more de-essing, and over here I took the tail up a bit, because she is, if we listen to this one, now it's going to play the raw file that she gave to me.
Too deep.
And then if I play mine,
Too deep.
she stays here. She stays in the front, and even when she is at the end of her breath and the end of that note, she is still really present and in your face. And I really want that, because there's an emotion there that I want to emphasize. And that's what mixing is, basically. The emotion is already in there, but we're just gonna emphasize everything. And everything we do is going to be in favor of that song triggering more of an emotional response. And getting out of the way of you feeling that you need to listen through a mix. This makes sense in Dutch, not really in English, but that you have the feeling that it's not really completely, that something is annoying that distracts you. We want to take anything that can distract you from the song and from the emotion of the song. We want to get rid of that. So that's what I do by de-essing. I'm not going over all the de-essing right now. If you want me to, I will make a separate video to go over all the de-essing and the clip gaining. So if you want that, I will make a video where I drag in raw tracks and I do the entire clip gaining and de-essing process, so you guys can see how I do that. For now, we're just going to grab the lead vocal again, how I processed it. We can go out of playlist mode. And let's have a listen to a bit of that hook.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer. 'Cause maybe I want it to be that way.
So the first thing that I noticed when I imported the tracks is that they're all rendered stereo files. Well, this is not a stereo track. I can take out all of the processing. So I'm taking out the buzz processing and this processing. I can put it on solo, and then I go down here, and I have to cheat a little bit because that's my master track. I've got this guy here. And I put that on solo, and then I hear nothing.
I'm afraid.
So that solo's aside. So that way I can check if it's actually a dual mono file. Now, there's two things I can do. I can slap on a down mixer, like I did right here, or I can split the tracks into mono, get rid of the dual mono track, get rid of one of the mono tracks, and then put the other track, pan that in the center, and then work on the mono track. First of all, that's a lot of work. And second of all, if I were to do that and I missed something somewhere that was stereo, now I can just take off the down mixer and I'm good. All the processing should go to stereo. My CPU will go crazy, but we'll fix that later. But then at least I haven't thrown anything off, and I don't need to put all the plugins on again, and I have to fix that again. I have to copy all the settings from the one track to the other. So that's a really handy workflow for me. Put the down mixer on and then work in mono. When something messes up, you can still do that. Okay. I want to give you... I don't want to do that. I want to give you guys a bit of an overview of my approach with the lead vocal. So I'm going to take a little bit more time on processing the lead vocal. And then we'll continue to the backing vocals and everything. So here... we've got that lead vocal, and this is my EQ on it. Let's see what that does.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
So you can see I took a big chunk out of the mids dynamic, though, because I want that to get rid of the muddiness, but not too much, because maybe if she sings higher notes, I need that a low mid to fill up. This is a broader band than I usually do. Usually it looks more like this cue, but this worked this time. I remember on other songs, we did an entire EP, And I remember on other mixes, I narrowed this down to another setting. I did that with a bit of a narrower cue. Um, but that really helps clear up because that makes the contrast bigger, makes this essentially makes the low end a bit more low endy, and it makes the brightness come out more. So I subtract that and that to get rid of the mud and make the brightness shine out more. This is proximity effect. Maybe she was standing a bit too close on the mic. I took some of it out, and the rest I let the dynamic EQ do, because again, I can't individually EQ every note. That would just take a week. So I can let this do that job for me and just smooth that out and make sure it's an evened out performance. Then if you take low mids out, the high mids tend to be a bit too gritty, tend to be a bit too harsh. So I like to take out somewhere between 2 and 4K. I like to take a chunk out and then also make that dynamic. And then the cherry on the top is this. Well, but let's see if we can solo that part. That noisy, that resonance. I don't want that. Let's see how it is without that, and then with the cut in there.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
She without this cut right there, she becomes a bit nasally, and I don't like that. She becomes more clearer, like she, like her nose opened up or something. Let's see individually what these points do.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
So there you see on the closure, this one is working, and on deep, there's nothing there. So I need that extra energy there to give me the extra push in the low end on deep, so deep doesn't become a really thin note. A high pass, just on feel, I needed to roll off some of the low end. Let's see what this guy does because it's a big chunk.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
So do you hear how that opens up? And you lose a little bit of the warmth, but I'm sure we're gonna make up for that in the rest of the chain. And then the 2K.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too.
Hear that? I don't want that. That's nasty. That's nasty frequencies. I don't need that. That's gonna prevent me from getting the vocal nice and loud and bright in there. So I take that out, and then we can push up the vocal a bit more. Lo-fi, my favorite. I'll keep the vocal on solo.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
So that's bringing a type of grittiness back in. The distortion on point 1. This is a big key in making sure the vocals sticks out in smaller systems, smaller speakers. Getting that high mid out of there. I usually put the lo-fi on after I got rid of this thing, the 2.8K, between 2 and 4K, because otherwise you're just gonna emphasize that even more, and you're gonna be needing to take that out even more and more and more. Soothe, I mean, yeah. Soothe just helps when you have established the sound of your vocal and then you just need to get it to there. You just need to get it a bit nicer sounding. And again, you can't spend a week on every single note EQing it differently. So Soothe just does that for you. If your vocal sound is on 80 or 90%, you put on Soothe, and Soothe just helps soothing it out. Oh, it's gonna be another one with bad jokes, isn't it? Let's go.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer.
Just smoothens it out. It becomes a bit darker, so maybe that's something we need to adjust afterwards. Maybe this 1176 is going to help that. I specifically chose the blue stripe because of the harmonic content it creates in the higher mids, and because she already has the LA2 color on there, so I didn't want to go for the CL1B, and I didn't want to go for another LA2A plugin, so I decided to go for 1176. Let's do a quick A/B on that.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
So I'm cheating a bit. It's adding a little bit of gain, but this is more so you can see settings and what I'm doing with it. I'm not going overboard. I'm not compressing the needle, breaking the needle there on minus 20 dB. I'm just doing 1 or 2 dB, just keeping it in there. Because I already clip gained, I already did that. I just need the tone of that 1176 to make her stand out a bit more and make her a bit more forward. Then we've got some more controlling. This is dynamic multiband compression. Not dynamic multiband compression, because multiband compression is dynamic already. It's multiband compression. Let's see what we did.
I need closure.
So you can see that I'm taking more of that low, controlling more of that low end. And keeping it, I'm boosting it up by 1 dB and I'm compressing 2 or 3 dB. So it takes it down when there's too much of it, but boosts it back up when she sings in a higher region and she needs that body. So it's really making sure, not setting and forgetting, but just, well, I'm forgetting because I'm slapping a dynamic plugin on it, but the C6 is not forgetting to put the lows back up when she sings in a higher region.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
Get more of the mid-range. I felt I needed to control that a bit more, and I felt I needed to control that 27, 28 a bit more. So I divided that work between the Pro Q3 and the C6. Maybe I could have done it in one plugin and I'm overdoing it, but that worked for me. That felt right, and that's the way it went. Then a decap. So I got lo-fi and decap. Did I go overboard? Nah, I don't think so. I like it. She likes it. So I didn't go overboard.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
So now I put the drive on 2. I put it on E, which is an EMI channel. And to me, that's a bit of a smiley curve. It's a bit more highs, a bit more lows. Becomes a bit fuller, brighter. I like that. The mix is completely wet. And make sure to properly gain stage it. With this, you can hear the room tone come out a bit more now because she wasn't in a treated room. She wasn't in the studio. She was just there. Maybe she had a recording screen. I'll ask her, but I don't even think so. It was just in a bedroom with the mic and her Apollo and her laptop, just recording. So you can hear a bit of that room tone coming out. Now you could go and get a SPL deverb or whatever, and it might work, but most of the time it just messes. I feel it messes with the quality of the vocal recording too much. So I try to get away with that. If it is really bad and I really need to fix the room sound in there, then I'll go there. But today it wasn't necessary, especially when this is dry vocal and there's still reverb being added on top of this. So it didn't really needed that because the slap is going to give a sort of a slap roomy sound. The doubler is going to give that delayed sound. The vocal is essentially 1,000 delays, the vocal long reverb. And the long verb is also a big verb. So there's enough reverb there that I can mask that room sound and make that blend into the sound of that reverb. To see what I did on the vocal, I will start with the vocal parallel, which is almost always on my lead vocals. We have to scroll down a bit. There's the vocal parallel. So the vocal parallel is just a block of vocal tucked in underneath. It's on minus 14 dB in this mix. What I do is I first de-es it pretty heavily.
I need closure.
And I'll have it on all round, so that becomes a bit less. Maybe if you do split band.
I need closure.
Just play around with that, because sometimes the all-round wideband can duck it down too much while you don't need it. So it might be better to go for all-round split band or single vocal split band, or play around with that, because sometimes you just need to get rid of the nasty S's, F's, and T's a bit more. And sometimes you need to get rid of all-round harshness. Then it goes to an 1176. And I think this is slamming it a bit.
I need closure.
Yeah, that's doing some compression. So that's really making the block underneath that. So I can put that under the vocal, get more of a steady block of vocals without the lead vocal being too overcompressed and being too heavily and sucking out that energy. So this just gently gets tucked underneath that. Then I've got a Pro Q3 to take out some 400, because probably that was just too much.
I need closure.
We'll see in the entire mix. It probably, yeah. It's not really a fair comparison if I'm sitting here, oh yeah, listen to this with or without. Sorry, I won't talk when it's playing. With or without this.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
It's just contributing a bit more to the brightness of the vocal. As is this. Maki Q, getting some high end 10K in there. Sometimes I put it to 20K.
I need closure.
It's opening up all of that. And because it's on the parallel, I'm not afraid to push it a bit further. In a way that this decap does. So now I put it on T. Sometimes I match the same decap setting as the lead vocal. Sometimes I do a bit of a different version.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
It's just sticking out a bit more, adding a bit more presence in there. It's tiny steps. It's all these tiny steps that make the vocals sound better and better and better and better. And then at the end of all those tiny steps, you've gained a lot. A lot. Vocal verb. Long verb.
I need closure.
I believe that is our big friend, the 480. It is not the hardware version, unfortunately, because I use it. I tend to use this more on recording sessions where I can just run a reverb track simultaneously with the recording and just print it, so you have that in the mix as an audio file. In here, I don't really like having any hardware on auxiliaries, because then you have to commit the auxiliary and you can't really send anything else to that aux anymore, and it just becomes annoying. And this sounds close enough that I'm willing to make that trade for my workflow. I put an H delay before that, so I can have the pre-delay in sync with the tempo. So now this is a pre-delay of 42. It's a 46th note. Make sure you take down the analog button, because nobody wants that random noise there, especially on 2, which is the worst one. I mean, if you want some noise, at least set it on 4 or something. Or look which one is the lowest noise setting. Then the pre-delay in the 480 is on 0 milliseconds. And the length of the verb is pretty long. It's on 4.3 seconds, which is, it's a long verb, but I like it.
I need closure.
Then we've got shape and spread. And the shape is a magic tool in the 480. Because the shape, to me, it sounds like it changes the density of the early reflections, or the level of the early reflections. So it becomes more echoey, it becomes more of a complex reverb. There's more earlier reflections coming in before that lush reverb is introduced. So you can really adjust if you just want a thin, long tail at the end, or you want a dense reverb with the tail. So let's see how a pretty high shape is, as I have it now, which is a denser sound.
I need closure.
And then if we put it all the way down,
I need closure.
you hear that difference? Now it's almost like there's a big gap between the delay and between the vocal and the reverb.
I need closure.
And now it blends together.
I need closure.
So somewhere in there you can play with it. You can just move this fader around till you find the sweet spot for that particular song. Because it could also be that I just want a thin verb that just goes in the length and just be there. The spread is the spread of those delays.
I need closure.
See?
I need closure.
Yeah, so to me that's like it spreads those delays a bit more around, and it makes it even a denser reverb. Then another thing I like to do on this reverb is taking the bass down. This is normally on 700 hertz or something. I take that up to 2K, or I just fuck around with it. And then the bass is normally on 1.2x. I put it on 0.4 or 0.6 just to thin it out a bit. Let's see how it is on 1.2.
I need closure.
You hear that build up in the sides?
I need closure.
I don't need that build up on the sides, especially in the beginning. I don't need that. I need that reverb to fill up that gap, but I don't need it to overpower everything, because it's a dance production, not a dance production, dense production. Stop with the jokes. It's a dense production, so I don't need all of those extra reflections in there, and I just need a bit of extra. A lo-fi which is doing nothing. So let's do this. All right, the long verb, which, if I recall correctly, is actually the short verb for the reverb, because the normal verb is longer than the long verb. It would have been better if I just called this plate, because I apparently needed a plate on this.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
It just helps giving another dimension to that vocal. It's almost like there's some gaps there when the plate is not in there, and the plate just fills those gaps up. It worked really well in this case. Make sure to play around with all the parameters and everything. I'm not going over everything. The slap is a stereo slap. Yeah, so I keep it around 80. Now they're a bit longer than usual. No feedback on them. Play with the low and high cut. The saturation is nice, and you can play with the style. I left it on master tape. Sometimes I go for any of the other styles here, which work great. 95 and 83. Just play around with it. Take 80 as a starting point and just play around with it until it feels nice, and it gives you a nice pocket there. Let me over exaggerate what I'm doing with the slap. So this is on -15.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer.
Just creating a bigger wash around it, a bit of depth, a bit of extra sauce. Doubler.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
I put this on my template once and it never left. I just really like it. Let's see where it is. Doubler, there. I'm not gonna explain these settings. It's basically Pensado's doubler, and then I messed around with it until I thought it sounded great. Maybe they're even the same settings still, but I feel like I'm messing around with it every now and then. Make sure you get rid of the direct, and I don't like this EQ, so I took that out. If you need those settings, rewind, screenshot. Let's see if there's any delays. 1/8 ping pong. So I did some automation on the ping pong and the quarter note, regular quarter note, because there's also a low pass quarter note. And that's just because there's such a sparse production here that the delays were just too much. If I would have let it up and would have just let it do the same thing as they are in the regular hooks. So I left those. I don't really need to go over an 1/8 ping pong or a quarter note. The quarter low pass is kind of interesting though, which is a low pass till 700, and from 230, quarter note delay. Not a lot of feedback, but just some feedback, just to have it tucked underneath there. I'll get rid of the other delays and then I'll play it with and without the low pass.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
If it was a single vocal, I would never leave the low pass on there, but it just glues it together in a way, and you don't hear it. You just notice that it progresses and it pushes that vocal forward, and it glues it to the next sentence. That's the lead vocal processing. Then there's one difference between that and the verse vocal, and that is that there's an R compressor instead of an 1176. Now let me quickly A/B for you what the R compressor does differently than the 1176.
Ooh, that you're all for me. Why on earth would you be choosing me?
That's the R compressor. And now if it would be the 1176.
Ooh, that you're all for me. Why on earth would you be choosing me?
So, I'm sure this does...
Ooh, that you're...
Yeah, there's about the same amount of compression. I just wanted a gentler, darker feel in the verses. So, on the hooks, that 1176 would be really nice and open it all up. And then in the verses, it would dim down with the R compressor and just be tucked in there. That is lead vocals, because I need to jump and fly and do my thing. There's automation on here. I just do that by feel. I could go over the automation in that verse. There's one part of automation I want to go over, but the delays, that's just by feel. I could make up some bullshit stories that I felt like it was a blue rainy night and I needed a delay there, but it was just like, hey, I'm missing something. What am I missing? Let's try a quarter note delay. Let's try a half note delay. Let's try a ping pong eighth note delay. And I just fuck around until I get the feeling that it sounds good and it works. So on this part, you can see here's some automation. I'll play the part and then I'll show you guys the automation I did.
I wanna tell you that I love you. I'm just unsure if it's real.
So I want to emphasize the emotion in the song and make that grow and really enhance all of that. So this is one way of doing that. I want to tell you that I love you is I wanted to make her dreamy and spacious and she's in the air and wow, amazing. And then she's right back on the ground in the next sentence. Just unsure if it's real. No more delays, no more anything. Just no more. A lot less drier. A big contrast between the two of those. So the I want to tell you that I love you really sticks out. And it sticks out even more because the just unsure if it's real is really dry. That way you get really sucked into the song there. And I automated a couple of things. I automated the vocal reverb. I automated the doubler. And I automated the ping pong. So the doubler and the ping pong create the width. The verb gives it the dreaminess. And then we take the verb down. We take the doubler down. We take the ping pong out. And she's back there. She's back there sitting next to you on the couch talking about this situation. That's it. The rest is just reverb throws, delay throws, whatever. So we're not going to go over that too much. The background vocals are also, all of these are dual mono, but they're panned already. So they're hard panned. So that makes it easier. If they were just slightly panned, I would just leave them in stereo and just go with that. Process them in stereo and just keep it that way. But for now, I just put down mixer on everything. I alternated, like, this mutes the right channel, which has no info. This mutes the left channel, which has no info. So I don't get any noise from that info, because maybe there's a plugin on there somewhere at some point that introduces noise to left and right. And now I'm stuck with double the amount of noise because there's still noise on the left channel. Maybe that's not the case at all, but I just don't want to leave it up to chance. The rapper. Stop. Let's see what I did on the EQ, because I individually EQ them, and then I usually start with processing the bus, and then I hone in on the individual EQ and really fix what needs to be fixed. So let's solo the entire bus. Now the folder is really nice, because now all of the folders, including the verb and everything, are getting soloed.
I need closure. I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
It's the same. What I usually do is I group two of these. BGV1. Let me go back into group settings. And then I go to globals and I tick these boxes. So the controls for those. What I can do now is I can put these on bypass with one click. I'm not doing anything. I just do, like, if I press this, I'm not doing any shortcuts or whatever. It just follows. And now if I open both of these Pro Qs, the other one follows as well. So that's really handy if you have two mono channels that you don't want to put onto a stereo track, because we all know that never works. Or you don't want to put them in a folder or an auxiliary and route them or whatever. This is really nice. You still need to add the same plugin to both of the channels. It's not that if I'm putting a Pro Q3 here, it's gonna create a Pro Q3 there. I need to put a Pro Q3 on both channels, but at least all the parameters are linked and I can just set them and forget about it. So there's some EQing. I'm not going over all of that because that's so case dependent. And I did a lot of EQ choice moves already on the lead vocal. The main thing with EQing backing vocals is looking for the parts that are still open that can be filled in with the backing vocals, and the parts that you need to get out of the way of the lead vocal, because if you leave enough space for the lead vocal, the backing vocals can come up. If you just EQ them the same as the lead vocal, they have to be way down, and just you can't go any further because they're also trying to occupy that space that the lead vocal is occupying. So that will result in less loud vocals, because you can't go there. There's already so much going on in that area that you need to take that out of the backing vocals, so the backing vocals can wrap around that vocal and be high in that mix. So that's around here. That was around 800. I took out a lot of lows, some low mids, so the lead vocal could really sit here and there, and the backing vocals could just be in that area a bit more, in this area a bit more. But I also took out some of this, some of 3K and 1.8K on the individuals, and then 1K here. So that's really, we just make one bus and we apply one EQ and that gets out of the way of everything. It's just shaving off bits and pieces as long as you have your priorities straight on which element takes which frequencies. De-essing, some extra de-essing because I always also de-ess these by hand. And I take out some of the breaths sometimes. So here's probably a breath. Why is it more on the left? Or is that just a speaker? Right. Because there's already a breath. Now don't just do this all the time. Don't just edit that out and try to get away with that. Always listen. Now it worked because they die off and then you don't really notice that these backing vocals need to come up for air and this breath fills in the gap. But it could also be that you really need those, a few of those extra breaths or S's or whatever. Some R comp. Now with this compressor, I try to mimic what backing vocals do in real life. So with a vocal, if I'm talking to you right now like this, you can hear a lot of transient and a lot of nuances in my vocal. Now, if I talk to you like this, those transients and nuances already get compressed a bit by the air in between me and the mic. So these vocals aren't recorded that way. They are recorded like this, right on the mic. So I need to shave a bit of those transients off so they don't interfere with the transient in my lead vocal and they fall back already. So I do a faster attack and a bit of a slower release. It's not a really slow release because I don't want to make them too dull. But I just try to find the right spot. And then some saturation to shave off even more of those peaks and create some harmonics in there. On a P style, I just put up the lead vocal, the lead vocal and the backing vocals. I'll just go through the styles.
And I'm stuck here in between my feelings. And I'm stuck here in between.
So to me, that gets too much in the way of the lead vocal.
And I'm stuck here in between.
This is too dark.
And I'm stuck here in between my feelings.
If she would have asked for more brightness on the backing vocals, I would have changed from P to E.
And I'm stuck here in between.
And that just,
And I'm stuck here in between.
This just fills it up in the low mids and the high mids enough, but more emphasis on the low mids that they wrap around her. And they take up a bit more of that space. The rest is a bit or too dark or has too much emphasis on the high end. I barely did anything on these vocals, so I'm not really going over those. Sorry, I'm jumping too soon. I added soothe. Because as I said, when you have your sound dialed in by 80 or 90%, you put on soothe and you're happy.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too.
Yeah, that's the backing vocals.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
It's just smoothing it out a bit. Then I've got bus 21, 22, which goes to the backing vocal BG verb. And that's a whole 20 millisecond delay. Almost as long of a decay time as the main vocal reverb, the 480. So let's see how that is if we exaggerate that.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
So I EQ'd some of that out of there because otherwise
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
that would just mess too much with the space that I need in the rest of the mix. So I just need that lush verb on there. And then we've got the slap, which you guys know already. And we've got the quarter note ping pong. Is there any automation? No, just volume automation. Yeah, this is just a decap. Sometimes it works to just put a decap on, put reverb on it, and put a slap on it. Let's see what the vocal short does. The vocal short is a reso verb. It is a really interesting reverb though, this. It has an 80 millisecond pre-delay. Sometimes I do that. I don't know why. I just did. A 70.7 second decay. So let's see how that sounds.
Just tell me what it means.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, you can tell that I dialed in the reverb on those parts because it's a really nice reverb for that. See, does that go back? Yeah. I'm not pushing it, not going all over the place, not going overboard. Just a bit of body, a bit of putting them in a new room, and that's basically it. The ahs, yes. So I had the ahs, and I thought, I thought, yeah, nice. I like these. So I mixed them, put them up there, and this is how they ended up in the mix. Oh, giving it away already. No. It was like, nice, put it up there in the mix. Let's see how they sound in the mix.
In my feelings. But come closer. Yes, maybe I wanted to.
I mixed them a bit differently, but I did a lot to them. But I mixed them with a nice reverb and everything was nicely in there. They were like, nice, climax section. And I sent mix one and they were like, yeah, that sounds great. It really does, but that's not how they go. They go like this. Okay, that's different. That's not what I have. So I had to recreate that because I asked them what they did to it and how they created this, and they used Kickstarter and some Ableton plugins and I was like, okay, let's get Kickstarter, let's get the show on the road, let's get this done in 5 minutes. Nope, Kickstarter does not work for Pro Tools. So I had to come up with something else. We searched a long time for the right plugin to do that, and in the end I just had to recreate it with a gate. So first of all, I made them thinner to match these more, but then in a nicer sounding way, and some radiator saturation. I love this guy. Just make sure you put the noise on clean. And I put a gate on there which takes its sidechain from their original backing vocal group track. So this track is going to trigger the gate that's on these tracks. So let's see if it does a good job on that. Now, I did not want to go as overboard as they go, because they have the level fluctuating by 10 dB or something. I just wanted a couple of dB to give that emphasis. They used some rotary Leslie type of thing, so I decided to put a Panman on it. Which almost got me there, but now there's not really the Doppler type effect that's going on. So I decided to add some more and put a phase mistress on it. So it really creates that swoosh effect. And you can do dance. There's no authorization on there. That's right. I didn't have that last time. I should have done the authorization. There's a reverb on here. I can't show you the reverb right now. I'm really sorry. I should have fixed that. I didn't. I was lazy. Happens to the best of us. There's a slap on there. Pretty big slap, so... Alright, need this. This. So that's how I recreated them. That slap is just there because there's already a reverb on there, just to put that in the same room. Of course, now this reverb goes to that slap as well, but I didn't mind. Then I've got we're already at the all vocals bus. So that's where all these vocals end up. So I've got the all vocals over here, and then I've got this guy. I love this guy on my all vocals bus. It's the Fairchild, and I don't even think this is compressing.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
I'll take out the ahs for now.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
I said I'll take out the... Oh, that's their abas. Abas. Abas.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer. Yes, maybe I want it to be.
Yeah, no, it's not compressing. And I don't need it for the compression. Sometimes I compress it a tiny amount, just maybe a half a dB, 1 dB, 1.5 dB, but that's not there for the compression. That's there for the texture it gives me in those lead vocals. Yeah, I love it. Then some more C6 dynamic EQ.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer.
just controlling it a bit, just slightly dancing around a bit, and just making sure I can get the 5K to 20K up by half a dB, and this just controlling, and some 2K. Apparently 2K needed some repair.
I need closure. I need closure.
See, without it.
I need closure. I need closure.
Yeah, so just a bit of harshness control, so the track can become louder without piercing your ears, and people wanting to shut it off because it's too annoying. SSL EQ and some dynamics, of course. SSL channel. I love this SSL that I'm sitting behind, and yeah, it's that this is on a bus, that I'm not using an actual 2 channels, but it's just on an auxiliary group folder, whatever. It's just not a good thing for my workflow to have hardware on there. I would love to be able to just be plug and play and have the hardware running already, because this would mean I have to batch it in, set it exactly how it used to be, and put everything back as it was. And it just doesn't work that way. I want to be able to be at home, be in a train, be in a plane flying somewhere, and just opening up my laptop and just do the changes, fix the shit, and just get over it. So what did I do? I did 0.8 dB on 3.2K. Sure, nothing. Sometimes I use this one, but I use some other plugins for the high end. I use a 2-to-1 ratio. Well, this is 2.1 to 1. And that compresses up to 3 dB, maybe. So it does some compression. But I like this SSL 4000 channels for that poppy compression sound it gives me. I love it.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
Just jams, packs it in there, and just there's a block of vocals there. Love it. Then my favorite on this all vocal bus, the Pultec. I wish I had real Pultecs. I don't. Maybe I need to save up some money to get some real Pultecs, and then then I would still not put them on my all vocals bus. Let's see. So I'm boosting. I've put this to 100. So what this means is the boost is now around 100 hertz. It's a really big broad bandwidth boost. So it's not just a peak on 100. It's a broad stroke. And then the attenuation is higher than that. So those are linked. This 100 means 100 boost, but it also means that attenuation is on a value in the low mid. So let's say, just for now, I don't know if this is the actual number, but the boost is on 100. That's linked to an attenuation frequency of 500. Now, if I put it on 60, maybe the attenuation frequency goes to 300. 30 becomes 200, 20 becomes 100. And they do this so they can, how's your, it's like this, right? This is the left for you. It's like there's the boost on 100, and then there's a dip that goes down. So this bell, the boost bell, becomes even more accentuated because that dip is there. And that's the same way I like to EQ. So cut somewhere after a boost so you can accentuate that boost even more. On here, it's different because these three are linked. So that's the bandwidth. That's the boost of this frequency. So 8K gets a boost, also a broad boost. And then here you have an attenuation select of 5, 10, and 20 kilohertz. That's 1.5 dB, sort of. I don't even know if this is dB steps or whatever, just 1.5 steps. So with and without first.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings.
Bam! They come forward. They're steady, full sounding vocals. I love it. And then I just needed some airy top end. So I used the Mag EQ, super clean EQ, for that 20 hertz. 20 hertz. 20 kilohertz of air gain. 4 steps, probably dB. So let's listen to that before and after.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep in my feelings, but come closer.
Okay. And let's do it before and after. The lead vocal without any processing at all.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
With processing.
I need closure. I'm afraid to get too deep.
Now, of course, there's buses involved and everything and saturation involved, so the loudness comes up, but there's a big difference between the dry original vocal and the vocal with all the processing on there. Let's see what we're going to do next. I think I'm going to have a little break. And with that, I'm going to wrap up episode 3 of these mixed breakdowns, part 1 of Closure. And I'll see you again next time with part 2, in which I will do the drums, the instruments, and my master bus processing chain and automation on the master bus. Stay tuned. See you next time.
Like I'm drowning, and I'm stuck here in between.